So the next thinker we're dealing with, coincidentally, John Locke. Who would have thought that in the John Locke Essay Competition we're talking about John Locke? We'll then proceed to talk about Guizot and Bentham. Now, the particular text we're dealing with for John Locke is the Second Treatise on Civil Government. This was published in 1689, so not too long after Hobbes. So what does Locke say? Well, again, theoretically, let's work from first principles. Let's go back to basics. Let's talk about society where there is no politics. Individuals exist in what, again, he calls a state of nature, so borrowing from Hobbes, where there is no government. Individuals are free to act as they please, but it's also rather chaotic. Not quite as chaotic as Hobbes thinks, but still quite chaotic. Individuals in this state possess the right to act against others, so to punish those who act unfairly to others. So Locke believes in the system of what we might call natural rights, or natural law. Actually, that everyone has it instilled in us as humans, outside religion, that biologically we all believe it's not fair for someone to unfairly harm someone else. So therefore, we all have, by this system of natural law, we all have the right to punish those who unfairly commit crimes against others. What he calls the right of individuals to punish those who transgress others in a state of nature. So we all possess this right to punish others. Once we enter into politics, in the same way that Hobbes argues, Locke argues we abandon this right to judge, and other general rights as well. We're giving these over to a monarch, because the monarch in return is protecting us. The state of nature, we have no protection. Anyone can come and steal our possessions. Whereas in a political society, we have the benefits of courts, a legal system. We have the division of labor and an economy to help us advance our material conditions. So that's why we enter into government, into political society. The downside is we're ceding our individual right to punish others. And in doing so, we're making a contract with the monarch to agree to these terms. You protect our property, we give you our right to punish individuals. And we do this because it's rational. As rational we are as human beings, we're reasonable. We do this because it best protects our property. And therefore, this is the basis for a governmental mandate, a contractual agreement. We've agreed through contract that you do this thing and we do this thing. But this is the basis for authority. So it's not necessarily a free and fair election confers a mandate for governing, but a contract between people and ruler that confers a mandate for governing. And to me, this seems quite a convincing argument. A mandate is it makes sense. In an election, it doesn't seem to me that there's an obvious agreement, a contractual agreement. There's no obligation. Yes, there's a kind of sense that a political party, if voted in democratically, has to carry out their promises. One of the biggest issues in politics today is that parties get in elections and don't carry out their promises. That's one of the biggest reasons for frustrations amongst the public at large when we consider politics in the 21st century. Whereas Locke is that the mandate is much more significant. It's something much more, something that people can be made accountable for, rulers especially. And so the mandate is this agreement, it's the contract. You do this, you protect our property, we give you our right to judge others in the judicial system. So the monarch in turn can punish individuals who violate other people's property. It all sounds very good, it all sounds very stable. But this accountability is especially important because we can look at what we call the negative argument. So discussing what does not confer a mandate in order to make it clear what does. So in this case, for Locke, a mandate is not conferred or a mandate is withdrawn when the contract is violated. And when would the contract be violated? Well, we've established that for the monarch, they have to protect our property equally. So if the monarch were to arbitrarily take the property of its subjects or arrest them without fair trial or no longer protect their property, they're violating the contract. In this situation, As Locke expounds, society returns to the state of nature, this initial chaotic place we had in the first instance. Individuals can now have returned to the state of nature, so they've gained their right to punish people back. And upon violation of the contract, that the monarch no longer possesses the right to govern. The contract is revoked, and it's been revoked because the monarch has violated it. This consequently justifies individuals to resist and depose the monarch. And why is this? Well, they've regained their right to judge and punish, and the monarch is committing the crime we established. And given these natural law ideas that we established at the outset, we're in a state of nature, and the monarch is now simply another person who is committing a crime. Therefore, we have the individual right to punish them. And what does that look like? Well, it looks like resisting and deposing the monarch. Quite a complicated justification. So you may need to rewind that to gather it again, but the basic system is that a mandate to govern is conferred not by a free and fair election, but by a clear contract between ruler and ruled. Ruler being monarch, ruled being citizens. A contract that, upon violation, no longer confers a right to govern.